Yo, AD.THE.HITMAN here, hitting you up with another action-packed video. And what better way to do that than to bring you my top 5 favorite fictional characters of all time. So strap in, because it's going to be a stupendous ride as I go over each and every one of these characters. Now, before we get into it, just wanted to go over some ground rules or rules of engagement for the viewers. So, just because a certain character pops up on my list, I just want to make sure everyone understands this does not mean that if I were to rank that source material where that character appears, that's how they would rank in that kind of particular ranking or listing, right? So this is a list where there could be a character in this list, and it doesn't necessarily mean that whatever the source material is one of my favorite materials of all time, if that makes sense. So just wanted to cover that before we get into it. So, a couple honorable mentions. Chris Redfield, really love this character. I like the struggles he goes through and the character arc he goes through in each game. I just have always really resonated with this character. And I've always been Team Chris Redfield over Team Leon. Now, Perfect Cell, another great character that I really enjoy. To me, what always stood out about him was his character and the aspect of having the cells of the mightiest warriors. I think that just made him for a more interesting character, and it just really elevated the threat that he brought to the main cast and to the main heroes. So, really enjoy his character as well. And then last but not least, before we get into it, Yusuke Urameshi from Yu Yu Hakusho. This one was tough because I really, really love Yusuke's character. I've seen both, Japanese and the English dub, and I just enjoy his character in both. The way he's portrayed is just amazing. I love all the crucible moments that he goes through throughout the series and what he does to keep bettering himself and how he finally breaks his wall of emotions to keep getting past his prior limitations. It's just amazing storytelling. All right. So, in rank 5, going to start off with none other than Seto Kaiba. So, Seto Kaiba from Yu-Gi-Oh, for those of you that don't know, he's one of the main characters for sure in Yu-Gi-Oh. He's not the main character, obviously, right? And he comes out in the original Yu-Gi-Oh series, Duel Monsters, for the Western audience. And he, I wasn't surprised. I was very surprised that he made my list. I personally didn't. I've always enjoyed his character, right? I just never thought he would really crack my personal top 5 until I actually sat down and really just put into some thoughts. But yeah, I really like Seto Kaiba and his character. To me, what resonates with this character is kind of that story where he starts off as a bitter rival where he really just wants to continuously beat the main character, but as the series progresses, he just continues to elevate his character, and you see him still be part of the main cast and still help out while him still not really letting himself admit that he's going through a change throughout the series. And throughout the series and towards the end is where he has his sort of character arc where he kind of just realizes and has that glass shattering moment of, you know what, maybe Yugi is the best, but that's fine because that's not going to break my spirit. And that's really what I enjoy about him, and particularly this character. I also think the movie, the last Yu-Gi-Oh movie with the original cast that was released, the Dimensions, I really think that also elevated his arc even more. I mean, many people have argued, and I've seen where they really say that that's really a Seto Kaiba movie because he's kind of the one that's throughout the whole movie. And there is truth to that because it really just puts a spotlight on him, and I think that's one reason why I just love that movie. I can go back and see that movie whenever. It's just so good. I love the ending. Won't get into the movie specifics, but overall, it just adds to his character arc. So yes, overall, just an amazing character, and I especially like to see where his arc begins and how it ends at the end of the series. Phenomenal. Number 4, and I'm gonna go with none other than the illustrious, the legendary, the myth, Big Boss from Metal Gear Solid. Or Metal Gear. Now, Big Boss is a character that I wasn't surprised made my top 5 because I've always enjoyed his his character arc. I've always enjoyed the history of his character, and I've taken the time to not only play the games multiple times, but read up on the side a little bit about his character. And fun fact, I will throw this in here now. Metal Gear Solid 3 is actually one of my favorite games of all time. Snake Eater. So Big Boss. So this is a character that's a little bit different from the others in the list because I can't say that I resonate with this character at any level. With some of the other characters, you're going to see that I have a certain attachment to them for a certain particular reason. But with this character, it's more of just storytelling. I can't go into his whole story because that's like its whole video, but definitely recommend checking it out if you don't know too much about this character. Most people, they know, Solid Snake from the main Metal Gear games, Metal Gear Solid, but basically that character Solid Snake was cloned from this character that I'm putting on my list, which is Big Boss. He was the OG, and he was really considered a legend. Did several missions, and one particular mission, which is the one from Metal Gear Solid 3, put him at a different level where they gave him the title of Big Boss, and it's just a very emotional game. Like I said, I can't get into it because it's too much to go over, but essentially there's a big fight at the end, and he ends up having to kill his master, which was known as the boss. So at the end of it, that's kind of where they give him the title of Big Boss, to try to give it this larger than life title and even elevate it past that. But the storytelling for his character is just amazing. When they were writing this character, I just think they did a phenomenal job. And most people, they love Solid Snake, right? Because he's the main protagonist. But I always like to look a little bit deeper than that. And it's like, okay, well, something had to start from something. And Big Boss was the one that really initiated everything. Even if he wasn't the first thought, he's still a prequel, and everything still came from him. So really great character. We're in the top 3. We're in the end game now. And this was a very hard choice. I just want to say that spot 2 and 3 is extremely close. And I can even see this changing in the future if I ever redo this list again. So let's kick it off. So coming in rank 3, literally one of my absolute favorite characters of all time, and always will be, Anakin Skywalker from Star Wars. I absolutely love this character. This is a character that if I really had to, if I were to do a ranking of like, okay, characters that I resonate with the most or that I can really feel emotion to, I probably would choose this character maybe, because this is a character that I just love his arc. This is going to sound strange, but I love his flaws. And when I'm looking at characters that I enjoy or that I gravitate to, it's not something that I'm going out of my way to select, like, oh, I want to choose characters with flaws. Like, no, I'm never looking for that. But it's just characters that I gravitate to because as humans, we're not perfect, right? No one's perfect. There's no one in this world that's perfect. And I enjoy some of those characters that maybe don't have as many flaws. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think just me, you're right, as a person, I just gravitate to the characters that have flaws, because you kind of just put yourself in those situations and you feel those emotions, or maybe you have felt similar emotions where you can kind of just tell yourself, man, I know what the character's going through. So with Anakin, it's really like that. And I can't go into his whole story, but a lot of you all know his story, right? He's a very popular character, but in Star Wars, I think a lot of people's favorite character is Luke, and rightfully so. Luke is a great character, but man, when it comes to Anakin, I really resonate with him. Like, born to basically be great, but because of his flaws, because of his emotions, it basically puts him down a road that just puts him in a road of destruction and suffering. And really, that's the story of Darth Vader, right? I can easily make an argument that Darth Vader's on this list too, because it's basically they're one and the same, right? And that's really what I enjoy about the character, is that you get to see his rise and fall. So with Anakin, you see, as a kid, he was groomed to be great, and he's obviously talented. And what ends up happening is, because he lost his mother at a young age, he just becomes a kind of character where he doesn't want to lose anyone anymore, and he tries all that he can so he doesn't lose those characters. And what ends up happening is he gets manipulated by, as we all know, Emperor Palpatine. So he goes down a path that ultimately assists and aids in the downfall and destruction of the Jedi. And the real sad thing is that at the end of it, he loses his loved one, right? He loses Padme. And to me, that is just phenomenal storytelling. I was a teenager when I first saw episode 3, and I immediately just not only enjoyed the movie, but I fell in love with his character. And rightfully so. I mean, to this day, even as an adult, I still do. I see the emotions. I can relate to some of the emotions he was feeling, being betrayed by the Jedi, the way he felt when Windu didn't want to put him on the council. It's like, why? Like I felt like him too, like why? Like I'm literally on your side here and you don't want to give me the rank of master, And maybe it was a little bit selfish of him, right? Like he had his reasons. He had wanted to be a master. That was one of his biggest goals, but it's like, and even when he strikes down Windu, it's like I couldn't help but feel for Anakin. It's like, Windu, you kind of brought this upon yourself. Anakin was literally there. He was trying to be the best hero he could be, but there was just surrounding him a lot of doubt, and just kind of led to that. But yeah, I just really love Anakin's character. Definitely one of my favorites of all time. So in number 2, it's none other than the Prince of all Saiyans, Vegeta. Oh man, so Vegeta. I love Vegeta's character. So fun little fact here. I think I was 5, and I was watching cartoons, right, on Cartoon Network, and I happened to change the channel to Cartoon Network because this was when Toonami was already on Cartoon Network. That's what I'm saying. I think I was 5, maybe 6 at the latest, but I was really young. And I saw this random episode of which was Dragon Ball Z, right? It was the original Ocean dub, right? Which was your OG Ocean dub, to those that don't know, before Funimation took it over. And I literally still remember the first image I saw when I changed the channel. It was Nappa and Vegeta just there on the screen. It was when they land on this in the Saiyan saga, and I believe it was the episode where like the Cybermens were still fighting, and I immediately just enjoyed his character. Like he wasn't doing anything; he was just there, calm and collected, and I just immediately drew a connection to this character. I can't tell you why particularly, right? Maybe it's because he's short and I'm short, and maybe it was because I saw it. He was, arrogant, and I've always had an arrogant side to myself, right? But yeah, and as the show or as that saga went on, I really was loving his character. Like I was literally rooting for him, even though Goku was the main character. And mind you, I really did. I mean, I hadn't seen Dragon Ball, right? But I could tell Goku was the main character, right? Because he's a good guy. And I remember when they were finally about to beat him or whatever at the end, I was so sad because I'm like, man, they're probably going to kill him off because, he's a bad guy. Because, again, you have to know this. I knew nothing about this show. Like, to me, this was literally my first exposure to the show. I didn't know about the manga. I hadn't seen it in Japanese yet. I hadn't seen, anywhere, any other dubs. This was literally my first reaction to it. And I remember my uncle even saw me watching it because I got into it. And he was like, what's this show about? And I was like, I don't know. They just fight. He's like, that's it? I'm like, I think so. I had nothing else to say. I was like, I think they just fight. There's bad guys, good guys, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I was just so happy that he didn't. Vegeta obviously doesn't die. He comes back. Well, he does die, but he keeps coming back as part of the main cast of the heroes and stuff. But so there's that attachment that I have towards him. And to a certain level, I've always been like Vegeta in the sense where I'm always trying to better myself. As an adult, I just appreciate it more, where I think you can gain more from losing or from getting knocked down than you can from always winning and coming out on top. And I think that's the perfect sentiment of Vegeta. I love his arc. How, in the first arc, Saiyan Frieza, he's just this arrogant guy who just is obsessed with power, wants to become better. Then in the Cell Saga, same thing. Obviously, he, gets with Bulma. He has a kid. Settles a little tiny bit, but overall still very disgruntled, very arrogant. Still has nothing but jealousy towards Goku. And then at the end of the arc, he kind of just accepts, you know what, Goku, you're number one, and that's okay. And I just love that as a character. As a character, his drive hasn't been vanquished or eliminated by any means, but he's just kind of going about it in a different way. And I think as an adult, I resonate with that more, right? Because when I was young and as you grow old, you kind of just start to realize like it's okay to want to be the best, but you kind of learn, you know what, instead of competing against XYZ, let me compete against myself. I'm my own best rival. And that's what I do today, and that's what Vegeta does, you know? He doesn't fight to defeat Goku anymore or to defeat others. He fights to defeat himself, which is what we should all be doing. Okay, so if you've stuck with me this long, I really appreciate it. I had an amazing time doing this video. I just absolutely love this video and kind of like the different layers that it brought out from each character, and it really brought a new perspective on me as to why I really enjoy each and every one of these characters. But number one, and I'm pretty sure it's a character that everybody loves, Batman. So it's Batman. Yeah. And when I was doing the list, it was a no-brainer for me as I was writing down everything and making my analyzations and stuff. Like, it was just a no-brainer for me. I've always loved Batman. He's been my favorite character since I can remember. And this character kind of goes full circle with each of the other characters, and let me explain why. So you already know his story. I'm not going to get too into it. I mean, come on, it's Batman. Lost his parents, wants to avenge. He goes down a path where he wants to save his city. He becomes Batman, and he goes through a series of different crucible moments and adventures, stopping different enemies. We all know Batman, but what I really just think makes Batman the ultimate definitive favorite character for me is like how, as a person, I could relate with them, because as a young boy and growing up, I just somehow groomed myself to wanting to always be better at everything. I wasn't born with necessarily natural talents, right? And everything. Obviously, yes, I was born good at some things, but I had to work hard to get better. I think that's what Batman is, right? Batman, well, for one, he's my uncle's favorite character. And favorite superhero. My uncle adores Batman. When it comes to Batman, I mean, he reminds me of my uncle just by proxy. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's so funny because, and there's no way my uncle could have known this, right? Because my uncle's loved Batman since he was a kid. So Batman is 6'2", right? That's his official height in the comics. So my uncle is 6'2" as well. Like I told you, he's a pretty tall guy. Maybe not like, like from a like, I don't know, like from a wrestler perspective or something. That's average, but I mean, that's pretty tall, and they're both like literally Batman and my uncle are the same height. And kind of like I told you a little bit about Seto Kaiba, how he doesn't take shit from anyone. Batman's the same way, right? Like, Batman is one of the most hard-headed characters of all time, and he just reminds me of my uncle as well. So there's that piece. So immediately I'm drawn to Batman. And growing up as a kid, like, I couldn't. I mean, obviously as a kid, like, I don't think of this stuff, right? Like, I'm just like, man, I love Batman. He's such a badass, But obviously as an adult, when I put my thoughts together, I kind of just concluded, like, yeah, I mean, And then the fact that he's just a normal guy in the sense where he doesn't have any superpowers, I just think that's very inspirational. And it goes back to what I tell you. Like, I've always tried to achieve my goals, whether it be sports, whether it be profession, whether it be my career, whether it be something I don't know how to do, whether it be working out. I've just always tried to hit another milestone. And I think Batman, I just think there's a lot to appreciate behind Batman and his character and kind of what he represents, where he doesn't have super strength like Superman. He doesn't have a ring like Green Lantern. He doesn't have a suit like Iron Man. He just has his body, his wits, and his mind, and he comes out on top. And I just really appreciate that about the character. And just from an overall perspective, I think we can all sort of relate to his character to a certain extent, because it's true. Like, we're all human in this world, How many times do we wish, like, man, I wish I could, fly over there, or I wish I could just lift this, or I wish I could just, solve my way out of it with a super ability, or I wish I could teleport over there. But the reality is, no, we're just human. We're just people. We don't have those abilities. We're like Batman. So we have to do the best we can with what we're given to try to come out on top. And the truth is, we don't always come out on top, and neither does Batman. There's times where Batman loses, falls many times, gets his back broken by Bane, right? In the comics. And I just think that's a lot to admire and to look up to a character where it's a character that doesn't have any super extraordinary gifts. He's, besides obviously being smart and, his skills, but that's something that everyone can technically achieve. And I just think it's very inspirational, and I just can't help but resonate with this character. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's a clear winner. Batman was definitely and is my favorite character of all time. I will always go back to the character when The Dark Knight came out. I saw that movie 8 times in theater. Fun fact. I just love that movie, and I just thought it was an amazing movie, and just the way it portrayed Batman, I really enjoyed. But yeah, I mean, that's basically some of the main reasons that I really just love and adore Batman. I don't think there's ever going to be a character that trumps him, or that I can see this list changing a bit, right? Maybe as I get older, but one thing that I'm truly certain of is Batman's going to stay at the top. But but yeah, that was my list. But hey, this isn't the correct list by any means. This is just my list. But I'm really curious to see what your list is. Are any of these characters your favorite characters? I'm just curious. But yeah, thanks again for hanging in there with me. I really appreciate it. I had an amazing time making this video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.
I never said thank you.
And you'll never have to.